Oh, there they go. Hello, I'm Reverend Paul Gaspar, and for over 30 years, I've been helping people with life and living issues. So, if you've seen our videos before, you know how this works. We have a couple ladies here. They're going to ask me some questions. Maybe I'll answer them, or we'll just break into a dialogue. Hope you enjoy.
I'm sorry, I forgot the question.
How would you like it if I said, I'm sorry, I forgot the answer? Well, we're going to talk about parenting.
Okay.
Yeah. So, and what's the big issue about parenting? Well, earlier when you asked me that question about the what? Oh, apparently they want me looking into the camera and not looking at them. What we were talking about is a garden. And when you have vegetables, or you have to plant seeds, and the vegetables need sun, light, and water. And in whatever length of time it takes, you're going to have something delicious and fresh to eat. Life is the same way. With our parents need to give us security. They need to give us food, education, and most of all, they need to give us spirituality, love, 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 love. And that's the foundation. Now, we can have money, we can have things, but if we don't have love, we're not going to have peace, we're not going to have joy, and we're not going to have happiness. So the question you wanted to ask me was?
How do I know if like your parents love you? I know
Okay.
we had asked, do you think they love you or do you feel they love you? And I thought that was a perfect question, because I feel majority of the people I know, including myself, have issues with their parents.
We all do.
You know?
I had huge issues.
And so
most people do.
It's a really big problem, but why? And what's the solution for the next generation's parents and children's issues to decrease?
Well, most people don't understand their feelings, right? So if you asked a person, do you know your parents love you, and or do you feel your parents love you? Now, when you're dating or engaged or married, I'll ask you two ladies this question. Do you want to know your husbands love you, or do you want to feel that they love you? Ellie?
I want to feel
That's
that
right.
you love me.
That's right. So in order to feel, you have to understand your feelings. You have to know them. And the feeling that goes on between people is spiritual. Well, if you don't have love, how do you give it? So, and most parents don't. So they get married. Like, take my case, my mother, she didn't know how to love. She didn't receive love, so she couldn't give it. Now, she kept the house clean. She cooked, did the laundry. My father went to work, provided the funds, right? And that's all well and good, but that's takes care of the material needs and the physical needs. But the spiritual needs are what's really important, okay? Everything's important, but the spiritual needs are really important, because if you don't have your spiritual needs taken care of, you get married, what are you going to give? You're going to give the physical and the material, because you won't have the spiritual to give. Then you're going to have children, and they need, not want, they need the spiritual gifts. But if you and your wife don't have them to give, it's pretty sad. And this is why we have a 51% divorce rate in this country, because people don't have the spiritual gifts, right? Now, I've been told not to say this, but here's a prime example. Why would anybody use their vote to vote for a selfish person? An extremely selfish person. Because if you're extremely selfish, there's only one person you're interested in, and it isn't everybody else. It's you. So you never, ever, ever want a selfish person in charge because they're going to hurt you. Not because they want to, it's because that's who they are and they have no choice. So when a person is extremely selfish, and we teach this, selfishness begets mean and cruel, and mean and cruel begets evil. Sharing begets caring, and caring comes to love. So there's the two sides. So most women will tell you, hey, my husband's very selfish. Why'd you marry him? Well, I didn't see it then. How come? Because you didn't have the spiritual gifts. Because if you were given spirit, you'd have known not only not to marry this guy, but run as fast as you can in the opposite direction of this guy or woman or whatever, whichever. And that's why we have problems. You make a decision with your grandchildren, and grandparents tell your children this. When a grandparent makes a decision, they're at the last quarter of their life or whatever, they can make that decision from peace, joy, maybe some happiness, and it'll be more loving because they now know time's running out. What's important? Loving, caring. And what is love? Love is caring for other people's cares. That's what love is. So when people come to me and they got this marital problem, I said, well, we're going to have to teach you how to love. Oh, no, I know how to love. I know how to love. I said, well, why are you hurting your wife? I don't hurt her. Oh, well, then why is she such a liar? Because she's telling me about how you hurt her all the time. Because that's how she feels. That's what's now. If the wife's feeling this way, how do the kids feel? How do your parents feel? How do your coworkers feel? Because we don't just hurt one person, we hurt everybody. Because that's who we're becoming, and we're becoming more and more selfish. And all we have to give is selfishness, which hurts. Did I go on too long, or was that another question?
That was pretty good.
So I think the question that I have of you two ladies is, how did that make you feel? Not necessarily feeling love from your parents. Because see, if we don't feel it, how do we give it? And we all know people that are hurting. We all know people that have broken up, their marriages came apart, and they've had multiple marriages. Why? Because they didn't learn, they didn't figure it out. Because if you don't love your first wife, why would you love your second wife or third or fourth or whatever? Because the reason you didn't love the first, because you didn't know how. It's not because we're bad people. It's because we don't know how. We don't know how to accept. We don't know how to forgive, and we don't know how to love. And if we can't forgive, we cannot love. Love is all about accepting and forgiving.
So how did I feel? I felt like an ugly duck. I don't know if you've ever watched that. There's like a little, or read the book. Because, I mean, there were some points where I felt my parents loved me, but then they had so many issues of their own. I think we were overlooked or underlooked for probably 10 years or something, maybe even more than that. So it was very, very hard. I found better relationships at schools and with counselors than with my own parents.
Now let me interrupt you and let's look at this. God gave us these people to be our mother and father. And what's the first decision we make? Is that we can have a better relationship with strangers. So by having these relationships with strangers, what are we telling God? I know better than you. I know better. And once we start thinking that way, we're in charge. And the more we get into that, rules don't matter to us. Why? Because I didn't make them. I'm in charge here. So right off the bat, if we don't feel that our parents love us, we're not going to go to them for advice. We're not going to go to them for guidance. We're not going to share with them. And if we're not sharing with them, we're going to be dishonest. because we're going to have to hide. They'll say, what's wrong? Oh, nothing. Where are you going? Nowhere. When you're going to be back? Don't know. We've all done that to our parents, haven't we? Hurtful. Very hurtful. And the more we practice that, the worse we get. And the more we do that to others.
But if a person feels that they didn't feel love from their parents, how can they possibly love their parents? How can they give love when they never felt that they received love from their parents?
You know, that's a great question. That really is a great question because, and I hope my answer is going to be so that you can understand it. God, this is why if you don't believe in God, most of what I say is going to make any difference. Parents love us because God made them love us. Now, they may not show it the way we need it spiritually. They may just, pay the mortgage, provide the food, the physical and the material things. But they do love us. But the problem is they don't know how to show that love spiritually. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Okay, because we need to be hugged. We need to be kissed. We need to hold hands. I remember one time Meggie was in grade 9 and we were at the restaurant across the street from her high school. And automatically, after I paid for breakfast, we walk out of the restaurant. I take her hand to walk across the street and she jerked her hand away from me. I mean, really, I don't know what, I can't think of the word, not violently, but, really jerked it away. And I said, what's wrong? She says, Dad, people are going to see us. And I thought to myself, so what? Well, when you're 13 or 14, you don't want teenagers to see you holding hands with your father. Well, where's that at? Think about that now. Now that we're much older, what would we give to hold hands with our father and mother? But you see what we've taught the teenagers? It's not cool to hold hands with your parents. Well, that's love. Eh? That is love. So we must hold hands with our kids and hug our kids and kiss them and share with them. Tell them about our life when we were their age, the fears and insecurities we had and what we did about them. Or they're not going to know what to do about theirs.
I can remember when I was about 18, 19 years of age, asking my father if he loved me. And he said, I go to work every day. I put food on the table. I take care of your needs. Do you not think that I love you?
How did that make you feel?
It made me rethink the question that I asked him, and it made me feel that, yes, he loves me to the best of his ability.
So he didn't know how to love you spiritually. He knew how to take care of the physical things and the material things. But
Yeah.
remember, we did a video on this one time about the 3 things that God gave us. We need the recipes for life is the physical, the material, and the spiritual. Those are the 3 things God gave us because he wanted us to have life abundantly. We wanted us to have peace, joy, and happiness. You see where I'm coming from with that? So what happened is you went to your father with a spiritual question. He only knew the physical and material answer to your question. Why? Because his parents didn't teach him.
Absolutely.
Make sense?
Mhm.
And that's why life is so difficult for most, because they didn't get the 3rd thing,
The
the
spiritual.
spiritual, right? I remember when Meggie was little, I used to say to her, because see, by then I knew, I said, do you feel daddy's love? I didn't ask her if she knew if I loved her, because I understood that. But I knew the most important thing was that she feels that I loved her. So I'd ask her that all the time, right? Okay? Because as a father, I wanted to make sure I was giving my kid what God wanted me to, what the most important thing to God was. And what did the apostles say to Jesus? Lord, what's the greatest commandment? And he said, love one another. Why do people not do that? It's not because they don't want to. It's because they don't know how. You go to any church and they'll say, open your heart, love one another, but they never once tell you how to do that. They don't tell you how to accomplish that. And that's what we do here. We tell you how to share, how to care, how to be there for one another. And if you watch our videos long enough, you will learn, and your life will get better and better and better. And all the people in your life, their lives will be better because you'll be caring for their cares. You'll be loving them. You'll be respecting them. And we've done videos on respect. I don't want to get too far afield. Go ahead.
Well, I have, one thing that I hear from almost everybody, including my family, is, oh, what do you do for a living? And if I were to be like, oh, doctor, they're gonna be like, oh, fantastic. But if I were like to say, I work at CVS, I'd be like, oh, okay. I don't know if they do that because of the income basis, but I don't think that's very nice because it doesn't matter, obviously if you're, work at a bad job or you're like a drug dealer, it's not really good, but I mean, it's
Yeah.
very dangerous. But I mean, I think everybody has, a hurt, and when they're evil, like you say, they must be hurting. But I mean, I don't know why that's so common here.
What do they
For
say?
Lord.
Where your heart is. Anybody know what they say about that? You will know them. So those people that ask you that, it's all about the material for them. That's the most important thing.
Yeah.
It's not that you've saved lives. It's how much money do you make?
Right.
Right? How big is your diamond? What's the
Yeah.
quality of your diamond? Right? Is your car from a foreign country? As if that would matter. Right? See, that's the material. How many degrees do you have? Did you go to an Ivy League school or did you go to school at all? Do you see where I'm coming from?
Mm-hmm.
So it's not that education wasn't important to me, but the most important thing for me as a father is, does my kid care about other people? That and Ellie and I, we had oneness there. Whatever school she went, that was fine. We would provide that. But the most important thing is, do you care about others? Because we knew of all the things you can do on this planet, that's the most important. We go on a lot of cruises, and I spend most of my afternoons counseling in the dining room because a lot of people think, we'll go on a romantic cruise and that'll fix everything. It doesn't fix anything, but they don't know, right? So that's, married couples should put a blindfold on, take a dart and throw it at the wall.
Why?
Well, because if it's on a map, they'll say, that's where we're going to go. No plan. Okay? Because how do you fix your marriage if you don't know how?
You can't.
And who teaches you that going on a cruise is going to fix your marriage? That's exactly right. And then no matter how much time I spend with them, I always say this when we're done. I said, just remember, when we're on a cruise, I said, just remember, we're all in the same boat now. Okay? Because we are. We're all here on this planet, and we're here for one reason and one reason only. It's to help each other. And if you don't believe that, you got a ways to go. And you can work on it. But that's the truth. Okay? Well, now there's things I've got to say to you. And I got to get a note because I don't remember. Okay. Please make sure to follow us on social media, Facebook, Twitter, make appointments, YouTube. And I hope you enjoyed this. And our goal is to make your life better. Take care.